Good morning, everybody. Welcome. It is Optimistic Monday, September 12th of 2022, and we got a great show lined up for you guys. Welcome to Coffee and Crypto Live. Every single day we bring you guys during the week all the things you need to know about the crypto market so that you can be investing as wisely as possible. And this is about to be a crazy week. We got the Ethereum merge launching, whether it be tomorrow, Wednesday, or Thursday. We're not yet sure unless TShroom updates us on that in the market pulse. We're not quite sure, but it's happening this week. And if those bugs don't come in, this could be very, very interesting because it's very split at the moment. Who thinks it's going to be going up and Ethereum's going to have a nice rally because of this move to proof of stake? Or are we going to have to sell the news release and go back down? This is also paired with Thursday, the CPI numbers come out, and that seems to have been overshadowed by the news of the merge coming out, but that will also have a major say on which way the markets end up moving. Make sure you stick around all the shows this week so you stay up to date on what is happening. With that being said, though, I'm so excited to have all of you guys here. Go ahead and smash that like button. And if you are new, thank you so much for choosing us this morning to get your crypto news. Go ahead and if you would like to, subscribe to the channel for content that helps you guys accomplish FinSov, hashtag FinSov, or what we call financial sovereignty, where you have control over your money, not your money having control over you. I am joined today by two fantastic individuals. I got TShroom over here to my right in teal.
Here I am. Hope you're doing well.
With the stripes, too. I'm liking the stripes.
Is that teal?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's teal. Yeah, I checked that before the lights came on and messed with my
That
optics.
is seafoam.
I feel like we're splitting hairs here now. I'm also joined by Smay, who's talking before he's introduced, but that's okay because we all love the Turtle King.
Hello,
how you
everybody.
Ooh, you got the yellow matching your wall again today.
Yes, it's my shirt that I washed.
Wow. Well, we got exciting stuff happening on the show. The first thing I need to announce is that Kagan will be joining today a little bit later. Some of you guys know him as Magic Internet Money, a phenomenal trader, and he is going to give us his take on what is happening on Bitcoin, because even though we're going to be talking about ETH merge as well, that ETH merge will have an effect on Bitcoin's price along with that CPI data, so you don't want to tune out for that. Also, at the end of today's show, we will be doing our HODL trophy predictions. And while I'm there, shout out to Man13, the first official community winner of the HODL Trophy. We'll be giving him a shout out every single day this week. Make sure if you want to win just like he did, that today at the end of the video, you leave your Bitcoin price predictions for Friday in the comment section. As we talked about, there were people who actually were a little closer than Man13 in the chat, but those don't get entered. Only the comments below get entered to win. So if you want to be just like Man13, make sure you do that at the end of the show. With that said, though, I'm going to throw it to Smay for one of our favorite segments of this show, where we get to read those green names in chat. Smay, take it away.
Gee, sirree, Bob. I do love some green names. Let's read some of them. We have here, you are awesome. Mike Lowry, Queen, Mitch Shaw, a mellow fellow, Gia S., Tyler Main, Troublesome Creek,
Nice.
Elliot Locke,
Nice.
Greg Jenkins, and then here's some blue names. We got Matt C, we got Mike Markle, and then we got Freedom Advocate. Who else we got here? We got Colin McDonald. We got JoJo, and so many beautiful members. I love all. Oh, whoa! We got Ellie Locke gifted some memberships, and I got some new green names to read. And this one is my favorite. You ready? All right. So first of all, Sean Burns Jr., shout out to you. Gregory Gressick is now a member. Shout out to you. JT Skinner, my fan, I love you. JT Skinner is a member now. He's a green name, and it makes me so happy. And then we got Crypto Roll Tide, and we got Daniel J, and Crypto Alchemist, and all you guys. I love all of you guys. Back to you, Tim.
It is about time. You know, JT Skinner has been the #1 Smay fan for a while now.
That was exciting.
So welcome to our membership. If you guys are wondering what just happened, those green names are our members, our YouTube members here on Coffee and Crypto. So thank you so much to each and every single one of you guys that help support the channel to keep us coming to you each and every single day. We love all of you guys. And even the ones who are not in green names, we love you guys as well. Just being here every single day, supporting this channel with your views, your likes. It is amazing. That is going to transition us, though. We're going to be moving on to our market pulse. You guys know it. You love it. Every single time we come in here, we give you all the big headlines that you might have missed. And before we go there, today's market pulse is brought to you by Hedge. You guys know a lot about Hedge. You know what? We love it. This is what allowing you guys to purchase cryptocurrency or receive cryptocurrency without having to use those pesky little exchange fees. You can get paid directly from your company by signing up with an automatic deposit that goes straight into your account. And if you're wondering, Tim, what account should I be having? You should go get a ledger. You should get a cold wallet so you don't have to deal with exchanges. You can sign up and get Hedge connected to your exchanges. But even better, if you have a cold wallet like Ledger, you can actually just skip all those fees and save yourself a lot of Bitcoin. By the way, if you guys sign up today with that link in the description, you get $10 of free Bitcoin with Hedge. Make sure you don't miss out. Sign up today. Now I'm going to transition. You guys know him. You love him. TShroom, take it away with our market pulls.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, it means only one thing, that you are in the market pulse, baby. I've got the Hedge right here. Hedge is making this market pulse possible for you all. It was a little too warm for me to wear that hoodie, but it's never too warm to get into crypto. Smay, if you'll go over to my screen, we're going to get into the Fear and Greed Index, which over the weekend actually ticked out of extreme fear. As you'll see here, went up to 26, but dipped down back into extreme fear, back into 25. And we are going to move on to the CME future prediction tool, which is outrageously certain here now, up at almost 90%, that we will have a 75 basis point hike from the U.S. Federal Reserve. Look at 50 down there, clinging on by a thread, 11% likelihood of 50 basis points. Still not zero. And I want to start off our anticipating dates with actually looking at the UK just printed favorable GDP print. So it missed forecast, which isn't great, but it is a higher GDP print from the previous month, which is good. And it's a year-over-year measurement. And tomorrow is the big day, folks. Really can't anticipate this anymore. This is going to drop at 8:30 tomorrow morning. We're getting core inflation and headline inflation at 8:30. Forecast for core inflation is higher than the previous print of 5.9. This is very key. So that for some reason the economists are forecasting higher inflation, core inflation from the previous print. Headline inflation is forecasted lower. Tim, what the heck is going on here? I mean, you're not going to know, of course. Nobody knows why they're doing this.
I might know.
It's just so strange. So core inflation is being forecasted higher, but headline is being forecasted lower. So I think the only justification I think for this, because I've never seen this, is that they're trying to give Jerome Powell every argument that he can go up leading up until the actual decision to be split. So any press conferences up until the 21st, when he has that opportunity to make that rate decision, he can say, "Oh well, core inflation is actually coming in hot," or he can. So we have to be hawkish, but he could flip the script, and if it's in his interest, he could say, "Oh yeah, we're going to go 50 basis point because inflation's actually coming in lower now." So who knows? Maybe this is just a rounding error of where this website's getting. Daily FX is getting their information. The Dow, S&P, and a lot of other economic predictors contribute to these forecast numbers. So maybe it's just some voodoo going on behind the scenes. But that's going to take us into our stories, folks. Again, tomorrow, very big day. And Tim's going to be on the show. I think I misspoke last week thinking that I was going to have the whole show to myself where I could greedily take up this headline. But it's actually going to be
on Wednesday?
Yeah, so Wednesday is when we'll just go ahead and unpack the way that the market reacts to those inflation prints.
I won't be here on Wednesday.
Yeah, correct. So me and Caleb will be unpacking that. Caleb Fran's going to be on Wednesday. But tomorrow, we'll all be on board for this momentous event that is going to shift economic policy going forward, monetary policy. Going to start off... Thank you, Smay. Smay knows what it is. The Turtle King himself. So this was a headline that that kind of fell into the radar last week, and I wanted to make everybody aware of it. UK Economic Secretary commits to make country a crypto hub under the new PM. So they've got to change the regime over there, a change of administration, and this is what their treasury is saying. So we want to become the country of choice for those looking to create, innovate, and build in crypto space. By making this country a hospitable place for crypto technologies, we can attract investment, generate new jobs, benefit from tax revenues, create a wave of groundbreaking new products and services, and bridge the current position of UK financial services into a new era. So very bullish, very very big on crypto. Of course, that's going to come with regulation to be able to bring protection to their consumers. That's not mentioned here, but it's implied. But I mean, the UK is going to be opening up for business. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but the UK has kind of been slow to open up to crypto, kind of like how New York has been a little slow. Some parts of Texas.
Yeah, that's correct. It has.
Yeah, so this is good. This is good on the news front. The PM that's coming in, she's made bullish statements, open-minded statements about crypto in the past, and now she's the PM. She's obviously got a ton more to focus on, so it's not going to be her top priority to do this, but looks like it's a pretty high priority for her economic secretary. Moving right along, we'll get right into the Vitalik headlines here. There's two, of which there are two. Vitalik Buterin makes surprise appearance at Kiev Tech Summit in show of support for Ukraine. Really, really interesting here. A little bit geopolitical. I don't know that we'll dabble too much into that, but we'll read what's going on here. Ethereum co-founder Vitalik Buterin surprises attendees at the Kiev Tech Summit yesterday to show support for war-torn Ukraine, an appearance that was closely guarded secretly for security reasons, organizers told CoinDesk. I have been following, this is a quote from Vitalik, I have been following Ukraine closely since the war started, Buterin said as the marquee speaker on the closing panel of the summit. I wanted to come and see for myself and also let Ukraine know that lots of people in the blockchain, Ethereum, crypto world really care about you guys and lots of people support you. So Vitalik just sending positive vibes at a time where he really wants its positive vibes going towards the Ethereum associated projects. I think this is a pretty good move by Vitalik, considering he's Russian. Anybody who's he's a Russian nationalist, meaning he's from Russia. Not by ideology, I should.
Not nationalist. A nationalist is ideology.
What you meant was he is a citizen.
His nationality.
His ethnicity.
I don't think he is a citizen.
Nationality.
Yeah,
anyway, he's clearly. This is the point here.
He's Russian.
It's uncertain kind of what his association is with Russia. He was at one time a Russian citizen.
Gotcha.
He was born there. So he's but he's there showing support to Ukraine to make it firm and obvious that he is in support of Ukraine, and he's not doing any kind of weird backdoor shenanigans with the Russians as the leader of the world's top altcoin. But that's not all that happened with Vitalik this weekend. Bitcoin proponent claimed proof-of-stake rewards aren't yields, and Vitalik snapped back. And it can all be encapsulated here in this tweet, so we'll check that out. So Ubi Werthermere, who is a Bitcoin maxi, some might say, but really a proof of work maxi. He said proof of stake rewards, and this does to get a little bit little wordy, so I'll try to make this quick. Proof of stake rewards aren't yield. In fact, they aren't even rewards. They're just penalty to people who don't stake. You don't get paid for staking, you morons. You just get penalized for not staking. I can't believe you still don't get it. Laughing my butt off. So Vitalik clapped back. He wasn't going to stand for that. No. And he said in reply, and proof of work penalizes anyone who has a smaller percentage of hash power than their percentage of coin supply. Actually, it penalizes much more than that because profit is less than revenue, but you get the point. So Vitalik's standing strong, not taking any any attitude from the Bitcoin maxis right now. Say what you will about the actual argument. Vitalik is showing strength here on Twitter and with his geographical placement and his attendance there in the Ukraine, which is something that most of the world is getting behind. So really the takeaway here is that Vitalik is not being quiet in the run up to the merge. He's very vocal. He's showing strength and leadership. And that's going to probably prove to be pretty good for Ethereum going forward. Tim, any thoughts on these highlights from Vitalik?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just still trying to do the best he can to get ahead of all the negative and positive press. There's still a lot of questions about what's going to happen. We're going to discuss that in the discussion section a little bit later here in the show. Are we going to see a lot of bearish pressure come in with this merge? Are we going to see a lot of bullish pressure? We know that there are some that are very, very against this move. They did not like the move to proof of stake, and he's trying to keep people rallying behind Ethereum and say this is a good thing. So I think this is more of a PR stunt for him, just continue to get out there and try his best to continue to bring positivity to Ethereum, which I don't think he really needs to do. I think the majority of people have gotten behind it. There are a few still fighting and saying this is a terrible move. They're just very few of them, and it's not going to make a difference here in a couple of months when we are just settled in.
Right. So if you were the PR operator for Vitalik, you might tell him to kind of pump the brakes on his outbursts. And
I think it doesn't make a difference. I think, do what you want to do, Vitalik. I think he's a little bit. I think in some way he's like trying to defend himself, and it's like, you don't need to defend yourself, Vitalik. Like, this is the move that a lot of people wanted. This is the move that's good for Ethereum. Don't worry about the naysayers. Don't worry about the haters. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we've got some interesting comments here from some Bank of America analysts. We'll check that out now. Bank of America says that Ethereum's blockchain upgrade may lead to greater institutional adoption of Ether. And Bank of America is, I think, in the top 3 largest banks in the U.S., so you want to pay attention when they say things. Obviously, they're TradFi, traditional finance, but we like to see what they have to say, because what they say will impact Wall Street, and Wall Street definitely has pockets and appetite for crypto. The notable reduction in energy consumption after the merge may allow some institutional investors to purchase Ether for the first time. Read ESG here, something we've been talking about for a long time. Those who were barred from buying tokens that run on blockchains using proof of work consensus mechanisms. So again, the ESG narrative is strong, and that's really something that Bank of America is taking into consideration here. The ability to stake ETH and generate a higher quality yield, lower credit and lower risk, as a validator or through a staking service rather than on box lending, borrowing applications may also drive institutional adoption. A decent, and this is an example of that, decentralized insurance protocol such as Nexus Mutual needs to generate a return on its reserves to allow it to become a feasible alternative to traditional insurance companies, the bank says. Insurance companies normally invest their reserves in corporate and government debt, but instruments with similar risk and reward characteristics are difficult to find in the digital asset ecosystem. Staking on Ethereum may be the closest alternative. So Bank of America kind of comparing Ethereum staking to government debt and corporate debt. So government debt and corporate debt are considered extremely stable assets in the world of finance and financial instruments. So the analysts here at Bank of America are kind of comparing Ethereum staking to be that equivalent. So if you're looking for a conservative but still a decent rate of return, you might be turning to Ethereum staking for that. And it kind of makes sense. I think that overall, this is very bullish sentiment coming from Bank of America, because at least they're thinking about it. At least it sounds like they have some analysts on board who understand what this merge means and what it's going to mean for investment. So very big, and also has those ESG implications as Ethereum transfers over to what a lot of people consider to be a more energy efficient proof of consensus. So moving right along, we are going to actually highlight something. Google is bringing attention to the ETH merge. They officially have a doodle. So like if you were to like Google things, and they come up with immediate results that they've actually produced. So they have a countdown here, 2 days, 20 hours, and 36 minutes. Let me refresh the page to make sure this is accurate. Yeah, so you can see that here. But there's a couple things to note here. First of all, Google's actually doing it. So Google has been kind of quiet in the whole crypto world, even though they obviously have the technology and the know-how to be a lot more active. But here they are, kind of making a statement. This is you can only find this. It took me a while, but you can only find this if you type in Ethereum merge. So it's got this countdown, and they've got the difficulty metric there, hash rate metric, and merger difficulty. But one thing they've also got here are 2 little bears with Ethereum logos on their bellies, and I don't know what that could exactly mean. Obviously, bears are not the best thing.
It's a reference to a panda bear.
Think so?
So it's what it happens is when they merge. So there's a famous meme.
Smay? You are completely right, and that is not something. So I found about this morning. It takes a village to analyze the crypto markets, and Smay is proving that yet again. So I am happy to say that I can now interpret this little bear with the Ethereum logo on its belly as not bearish. It is actually hearkening to. Here, I'll pull it up, Tim.
Did something come out? I saw this morning too. The countdown. What are they counting down to? Because we've been given a 3-day span. What is it? It's not counting down to the 13th. It's counting down to the 15th.
Yeah.
But why? Like, what are they putting minutes on there? What special happens at the end of this timer?
You ask Google that question. There's no way I can know it. Okay, so what is this referencing? And this is what Smay was talking about. So this is the graphic that went pretty viral. I believe it was on the Ethereum website. So you have ETH1 and ETH2 merging consensus and execution layer into one Ethereum ETH2, or as a lot of people like to still call it ETH 2.0. But Ethereum wants you to call it ETH2. All right, so we'll move along from that. But the overall takeaway here is that Google is kind of throwing their hat and making a little nudge towards the Ethereum merge, understanding that it's extremely important and perhaps an early signal that Google is looking into crypto for themselves. That could be very interesting. Moving right along, MicroStrategy is considering buying even more Bitcoin. Let's check this out. In a prospectus filed with the SEC on Monday, MicroStrategy said the firm has entered an agreement with investment bank Cohen & Co. to sell up to $500 million in shares of its Class A common stock. Quoting MicroStrategies, "We may use the net proceeds from this offering to purchase additional Bitcoin." So very, very big news there. There's Michael Saylor. I believe that's at the Miami convention, Bitcoin convention. So very, very interesting development here that they could be buying even more Bitcoin to the tune of $500 million. Will that all be at the same time? I'm not sure, but that's definitely something they've filed with the SEC. So they're officially looking into it. Very big story there for Bitcoin. Crypto exchange WazirX sees assets unfrozen amid Indian regulators' investigation. You may not know a lot about this. I didn't know a ton about it, but it's big because the exchange is one of India's largest, with 2.9 million 24-hour trading volume, and has had 8.1 million in assets frozen for more than a month. The financial watchdogs accused the exchange of facilitating money laundering, so that's the reason given for freezing these accounts. Perhaps it's actually going on. I wouldn't be overly surprised that that's the case, but those assets have now been unfrozen. And Tim made a good point that could potentially be bearish, because when assets get unfrozen, kind of like the Mt. Gox story, what's to keep them from selling it? Because
frozen locks it in. I mean, frozen doesn't make it disappear. Frozen is that's locked in. Like the only good thing. Or not the only direction that this news could give us price direction and is down, because frozen, the money was locked up. It wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
I imagine there's going to be people who want to utilize that to actually get out of the space.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been your Market Pulse. I am your host of the Market Pulse, TShroom. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at TShroom. You're going to love what you find there. Tim, take it away.
Boom. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining. We got almost 700 people in chat. I love it. Only 150 likes, though. So that needs to change. I saw in chat, before we were about to transition here and get Kagan on, and we're going to get our question of the day coming up, I saw in chat someone saying, Tim, why don't you guys bring the team out to Hawaii? TShroom and Smay, what would you guys think about going, if someone hosted us, what would you think about doing a show from the beaches of Hawaii?
I would definitely do that.
In theory, it sounds good, but there's a lot of sand. And sand doesn't do well.
I don't like sand.
What about from a volcano? Let's go to the volcano.
I think that's even more of a risk.
I don't think it's about to erupt.
If we're just talking about pure fun, I say it's a full send. I would love to do a show.
Are you saying there's too much sand as in equipment-wise?
Correct.
Oh, yeah. I could definitely see that.
Maybe we need to do it in a hotel. Anyway, we'll keep you guys posted if something like that develops. That would be interesting, though.
So what's the
I
offer?
would love to take the show on the road.
Someone's trying to fly us out to Hawaii?
He said he wasn't opposed. I joke. He's like, why don't you guys come to Hawaii? I was like, would you host us? And he was like, something could be arranged.
I don't think he's flying us out to Hawaii.
Hey, listen,
that's
if all we had to do was pay for the flight, that's not that big of a trip.
To Hawaii?
Well, and we'd have to pay for our food.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
We'll
talk about it after the show.
Of a hypothetical trip here, Smay.
Let's go ahead and bring on Kagan. Is he already in?
Yeah.
Sweet. What's going on, Kagan? How you doing this morning?
Hey, good morning. How are you guys?
We're doing good, man. We're going to start you off. I'm excited to get onto the charts with you. We're talking about Bitcoin and what's happening, because there's some big stuff happening this week. But before we go there, we got to start with your answer to our question of the day. I'm throwing it to TShroom to get it, though.
All right. Here's the question of the day, folks. Smay, do not go to my screen, whatever you do. The question is, would you rather buy all used underwear or all used toothbrushes? Wow.
Oh,
Gonna read that one more time. Would
Yeah.
you rather buy all used underwear or all used toothbrushes? Magic Internet money.
man,
What do you think?
that is a tough one. I think I'm big on just not putting other used things in my mouth, so I'm gonna go with the underwear because you can wash them. I'm not into that toothbrush thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's a
Gotcha.
hard.
Tim, what do you think?
I'm
It's
gonna
a
stick
tough
with.
one.
I told them before the show started. I'm going underwear, because as nasty as that is, I have more faith and trust in the washing of something I'm going to be putting on my body, like you just said, instead of something going to my mouth. Also, toothbrushes. What toothbrush are we talking about? They don't have a great lifespan, so I'm going to have to constantly buy a new Like, underwear has a longer lifespan than toothbrushes.
Yeah, you're gonna have to
True.
keep buying inferior toothbrushing equipment.
Smay, what's your take?
My take is definitely underwear, because I just thought about it. I was like, if you get like whitey tighties, bro, you can bleach them with the strongest bleach on planet Earth, and you'll be good.
All right, well, I'm going to take the under, and I'm going to say I would do toothbrushes because you can boil them, and this is something I have had to do in my childhood. You know, I think it was less out of economic necessity and more just
Won't that ruin, like, usually toothbrushes have like a plastic handle. Wouldn't that melt the handle?
but if you go on YouTube's, it will
YouTubes.
help. It will help you
Plural.
figure out how to do that.
All right.
This has been the question of the day. Well, let's check out what the chat's been saying. A lot of underwear.
Yeah.
But Burr Max said it's a difficult question. I could
Oh, it
not
is.
agree more.
This is probably one of the hardest questions we've asked so far with questions of the day.
I don't know about that. I don't know that it's the hardest because we're getting a unanimous response, but I would say that it is difficult.
Well, just because it's unanimous doesn't mean it's not hard. I mean, I don't think anyone's looking at this question and saying they want to sign up for a test run. I think people are going to say this is one they'd very much like to.
I
Now,
disagree.
introducing the next part of this challenge, guys, we're gonna challenge you to whatever you picked. You have to now act out. So I'm gonna be going to Goodwill and getting some used undies after this show. No, I'm kidding.
Not even a little bit. We're going to go ahead and transition back to crypto so we can get away from this topic. But if you guys didn't answer in chat, let us know what you think. Kagan, I have probably 147 questions for you, but we're going to have to start with just a couple of them. You know, you focus on the Bitcoin charts, and I know you focus more on the charts themselves rather than the news. But I know you don't ignore the news whatsoever. So before we jump onto those charts, I want to hear what you're saying. We got Bitcoin rallying at the moment, sitting above 22,400. You know, I believe it's going all the way to 23, but I want to hear what you have to say. What are your thoughts about the Ethereum merge that's launching here over the next couple of days, as well as those CPI numbers coming out? Should we be expecting a short pump for Bitcoin and then a fall, or do we think the rally will last the entire week?
I actually was bullish on Ethereum, kind of neutral actually. You had a bearish pattern that played out, and then it came all the way into range lows. I put it on my Twitter. I said, hey, we've swept the C leg of the pattern, which is just an important low, held structure, and now you're breaking back out. So in reality, you're battling with an important high here at like 1785.10. It gets above that, I'm looking for 1933.50. Do I think the merge is going to affect the price? I think it could. I think it could be a sell the event thing, but until the price is showing weakness, I'm not one of those people that's just going to blindly short because there's news events coming. So I'm not paying any attention to the merge. I'll be honest with you. I'm just trading the charts for what they are. I know that people don't want to hear that, but I do the same thing with Bitcoin. When the halving comes up, I just trade the chart. And if the chart says up, we go up. That's it. I just try to trade it that way. I try not to let it impact the way that I trade too much. I think that you can kind of get in your own head that way.
Man, that's a very good unemotional answer that I've come to expect from you every single time, but I'm still going to try to pull on you. I'm still going to try to pull on your heartstrings and get you to try to get some emotion into it. But let's go ahead. Let's jump onto those Bitcoin charts. Let us know what you are seeing, because as we're looking at it right now, we're hovering right around 22,400. And I was reading an article this morning. I don't know I don't remember the writer's name, but he was talking about how because we jumped 22,000, clearly the bulls have taken back over. I don't think that that's necessarily true, but what are you seeing when we're looking at all the finer details? I know you love looking at volume. What are you seeing about the power right now for Bitcoin? Do the bulls have control, or is this simply maybe a bull fake out, a bull trap, and we're heading back down soon?
So this was almost exactly what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. We had said, what do I want to see? I'd like to see us come down to, I think it was $18,880.50. Put some fear in the market. We didn't spend a lot of time down there, but we did sweep some very important lows. We took this low here and these local lows here, basically. So you stopped out a lot of people. You had a lot of people already crying for 10, 12K again. It's going straight there. What did you do? This is the range right here, according to ATS. So it's just your volume and your time range. So The values are slightly different, but they line up pretty well. You reclaim the range, and now you're just going through the point of control up to the value area high. I'm in favor of a move, much like yourself, up to that 23 to 23.5 region. I do think that we possibly are going to go a little higher than that. I would like to see this 24K area hit, actually. I would really like to come up here and fill this area out. And at that point, we can really gauge and see what's going on. In terms of volume that came in, you had a lot of trap traders down here. If you guys aren't watching order flow, this is one of those areas where we talked about when we come down to this level, all you had to do is have invalidation. So for anyone that's watching that doesn't trade off of order flow or get onto exo charts, things like that, very simply put, all you had to do is come into the high time frame, because a lot of you guys are investors. Look at your high time frame lows here, mark them out. Once they are taken, set an alert. That's all you got to do. Go down to what we call the low time frame for this aspect. You now have a daily candle right here that is your low, and just mark off that low. And what you're looking to do is establish invalidation, meaning that I know where my stop loss is going. Now that I've closed this candle, I'm free to get in anywhere in this daily candle here. You just had to wait 2 days, stop loss below the low, and you get to reap the rewards of all of this in terms of a trade or an investment. And that's how you could have gotten in on it. But yeah, the volume was good. There's most moves, and Max Burmax, that guy that you quoted, is actually basically our open interest in the order flow guy in the group. He trades almost exclusively off that alone. So a lot of times you get a decrease in OI on the move up. So your open interest is actually decreasing. It makes it look weak, but then you start getting new buyers that are coming in, which you did get. So longs were opening up. The move was strong. There was no real reason to be setting up for swing shorts, and there still hasn't been. So for me, you've got this section of price right here that you're going to be watching. And if we're just comparing this to the range that we had up, and I'll pull it up with you here in just a second, we'll get that back up. You can see why this section of price also going to be your point of control of the range and your TPO point of control, your time price opportunity. Very, very important area. So if we come all the way back up here and we hit that golden pocket, right, or even 24K, what you need to see is if price returns to this area, it's held as support. And we do have some things saying that we will return to this area even if we make that move up. This is an indicator that one of the guys in our group has edited for us. And this is just showing us where the next quarterly pivot's going to come in at, which those are pretty high time frames. So every 3 months of price action average. It is showing us that we are going to be coming back into this like 22K region. So if we make that move up and do something like this over the coming weeks, we do need to see this area of the chart being held as support. And if that's the case, you can start making an argument for a partial decline, which what that means is it's a fancy way of saying high or low, right? So you would basically not have enough selling pressure to rotate the range in full again. That's what we need to see. But for now, targets are still up. So if you got in on these longs, you're still just being patient. This is an obvious take profit one, but now you're looking for that top of the range around 23K you were speaking of, maybe as high as 24 to 24,297. And if 24 to 24,297 gets taken, I'm more in favor of actually breaking to the upside, probably taking that 25,200 low even. So.
I want to ask you a question, Kagan, about a theory that we've had on the channel here, and that we've heard a lot of support for. Potentially, could you see that this rally that we've been having, as we're about to move into a space where, yes, we have the Ethereum sell the news type of thing. I know you said you're not using that for your data, but that's what's coming in. A lot of people have the thought, hey, this is a sell the news type of area, and it's not just Ethereum. I think that could be an entire crypto space. We also saw a lot of money flow onto exchanges here recently during the dip, but also there's a thought that potentially there could be some whales out here looking for a good time to take profit. So they had this little pump. They're going to take profit, let it dip down because there's that speculation. We are going below 17.5 and we're going to be going down towards 15,000, potentially all the way down to 10. Although, we talk about that. That's not going to be a straight line. What do you say to that theory? Again, are you going to say, I'll wait to see, I have to wait to see what the charts are saying? Or do you think there's a very real opportunity we could be seeing some whales take profit here very soon, closer to those 23? I agree with you. The 23 to 23.5 is the range I'm keeping a very close eye on when I'm looking for a reversal. If we can continue through that, then maybe we have some bullish momentum. But what do you think, in all likelihood, the chances are of that pump before the CPI numbers coming out and potentially 75 basis points next week from the Fed? Could we be seeing a harsh dip here from whales just taking profit, taking advantage of the retail investor?
Yeah, you could be. Anytime that you get a move that goes this quickly through the range, especially, this is a very quick move up.
Yeah.
you run the risk of once it runs out of steam, what goes up fast comes down fast, right? And we know that, just like right here. So this is a big volume gap. We should see this area, and it can go up through this area really quickly, then come right back down, hurting some of those people. And you've got another one here. So suggesting that we could rotate the range again. One thing you kind of touched on is, if we're going to see those lower target numbers, I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff here. This again was the timeline that we gave in terms of the correction for this market. So it's a very, very simple idea. You're just basically measuring the length of time that it took to correct from 20K to 3K. And you're just projecting that same length of time to the 69K high. And a lot of people will say you shouldn't do that because it won't always be the same. But again, as a reminder, this is almost an exact one-to-one here on a projection. And so is this. This is an exact one-to-one from the low from the prior cycle to the high, from this low to this high. So they are identical. And symmetry does matter in terms of price because it takes the same amount of time to stretch that rubber band to where it's so stretched out that it has to recoil, because investors often act the same. That's why symmetry works. That's why when you hear people say it's a one-to-one move, why it's so important, because in time and in price, it can only do so much when human emotion really doesn't change too much between cycles. People are going to buy and sell based on fear and greed, all the same. That's why patterns work. That's why you see repetition in the markets. It allows us to trade it though. And so it does suggest that we are coming to an area that if we have not put in the macro low, we'll be making that final leg down. So I'm getting more and more in the camp that we might not see that, because one thing to note is that this correction was 88.6% of the prior correction, and each one is getting slightly faster. They're very close, but at the same time, it's not out of the question that this could be a low just because it came in would we say 60 to 90 days too early. So the Fed, it'll be interesting. I think that they're pricing in 75 basis points personally. I think everyone's expecting that. And if we got something less, which, right now we have no reason to think that, but if that happened, you could see things get pretty wild. I wouldn't say too wild, but, maybe like 28, 30K. But that's where I'm at on it. I'm literally just taking this move for what it is. It's a great trade. And then I'm going to reevaluate. I'm pretty neutral on the market. We're at a point in the market where the inflection point is coming. And another thing I did want to show you was, since we're talking about the one-to-one of moves, this was something that I've been kind of prepping the group for a little bit and talking to them. Everybody asks about Fibonacci time all the time. How do we use it? I use it a little different than what you're going to find in the textbooks and what you're going to find online. So I actually measure things based on time, and then I go ahead and standardize that. So what this is the quarter two high to the quarter two low, right? And then I went ahead and took the first 6 months of price action high to the first 6 months of price action low, which is the same low as the quarterly low. And it gives you this window for a pivot. So it's a one-to-one expansion of the amount of time it took us to go from these highs to this low based on using standard ranges instead of having everything be subjective, so to speak. And it gave us our pivot point right here for the low that we were getting at 18,880. You got the reclaim of the range, you have your invalidation. Now you're just looking for this to transpire up. And so from this perspective, this is telling me that we've probably got a little more up than down. Could we come up here and then root around a little bit? Absolutely. But the high time frames say that we've reached that one-to-one in expansion. So we should be looking for a pivot point, which we're getting now. So we'll see how that plays out over the coming weeks. But yeah, this was kind of the area that I was looking for in terms of time. And then price just happened to be coming in at that level as well, at that 18,880 level that we were looking at. So kind of I'm not watching the news too much, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just literally trading this for what it is. And I think that's the best way to go about it right now, because everyone's got a theory, and the theories can get out there, man. They really can. Just like the Mt. Gox thing with the, that's going to be the black swan. There's all kinds of things on the internet, especially when it comes to cryptocurrency. It's one of those spaces where people really love to talk about it. It's fun. It's an exciting space. And the idea that there is so much manipulation is what people like to think, makes it exciting for them to kind of really go off the rails sometimes, in my opinion, and have crazy theories. So unless it's policy that's being put into place, I don't really spend too much time on it.
Kagan, you want to know what I love about every time you come on the show? I feel like I learn a whole lot and get confused on a whole lot more, because you just really muddied the water, because everything you just said was so good and so fact-based, and so it gives me that think of like, oh man, like, are we about to rally back up to 30,000 with all this? You know, my question for you, and again, I know you don't pay attention to news, that when you weigh all this, how much do you also weigh the fact, you know, these patterns that we've seen, we're comparing them to Bitcoin, right? And what Bitcoin has never been through is a serious recession, and that's what it looks like we're coming into. So yeah, part of even my hesitancy to back some, I mean, there are some bullish factors on TA. You know, even the concept of, you know, we have our daily bullish RSI divergence now. We have that weekly all-time low of RSI. There are so many factors in the macro space saying that this could have bottomed out and we're heading up, but we also have no idea because Bitcoin, even though it's been, you know, we feel like it's been around for a while, it's such a short-term, it has such a short life at this point, and enough of a life to say it's going to be here for a while, but not enough of one to say that all these patterns are so consistent that we know what's going to happen. Do you have any hesitancy with when you're thinking about the economic factors of how hawkish the Fed feels right now, the fact that it's just looking more and more every single day, it's not even a question anymore that we're headed for a recession, and a serious one at that? Does that plan at all, or you're just saying no, I'm gonna take that stuff out and just go with the charts?
A little bit, because you know you can't ignore those things. Like in the back of my mind, I know that's a fact, and you're correct. Like we've got some things that are saying like, hey, this could get pretty nasty. You could see some, you know, pretty low numbers in traditional markets, which obviously are pretty high likelihood they're going to correlate to Bitcoin. But you know, I'll tell you this: it's in my profile on every single social media that I have. It says, "Don't be bearish, don't be bullish, just take the best trades," and that's all I'm doing. If I lose a trade, I don't care. It's part of trading. So for me, the best trade was right here. It was a long, and I'm going to go ahead and try to take as good an advantage of that position as I can, and you know, make money. That's my whole goal in my job. So I'm going to let this one ride to those targets. I am going to take some profits. I'm not going to close the whole position, but again, it'll come back to this area of the chart we were just talking about. You mentioned it earlier, that 22K ish give or take region. We have some high time frame averages coming in there in the next few weeks, which generally are going to suggest that we are going to come back to this area. So this is going to be a very important area on the chart over the coming weeks. We may not leave this range right away. So if we don't, we need to see this area of the chart being held as support. And if that's the case, you can make a case for further upside, and I'll continue to hold positions from this area because they're no longer in threat of being ran. You know, the moment we start losing this, you know, I have to look otherwise. Positions, you know, that's how I'm doing it. I'm just managing it as a trader. I'm not trying to get too far ahead of myself because, you know, it's fun to talk about these things, and kind of like you were saying, like the news, the recession, the idea of it, but it can scare you out of opportunities. And when that happens, you're going to be doing nothing but kicking yourself, or even worse, unexperienced traders will try to force a trade because they feel like they missed out. So, which ultimately, you know, gets them caught in, like you were saying, like whales taking profit, whatever you want to call it, and their position getting ran, et cetera. So, you know, my advice would be, and I said this to a couple people in comments on the video that I was on last time, was because it was 11 or 12 days ago, and it came down to these levels we talked about. I was like, you know, some guy said DCAing beats trading every day, but actually the 7-year DCA price, if you averaged in every day, is like 19.7. So in reality, if you had just made the plan and knew that this was the best optimal entry and waited, you would have got in at 18.625, not the exact low, but you would have got in pretty well. So it's about making a plan, sticking to it, knowing where you're right and you're wrong, and then just capitalizing on that. That's how you make money. If you don't do that, you don't have a plan, and you can't stick to the plan, most importantly, you know, maybe back off the trading side of things a little bit and look elsewhere to see if maybe it's your time that you've got an issue with or what. But yeah, no, I'm not looking at the news, man. Not too much. I try not to let that affect me. I just try to take the best possible setup for risk. And if I do that, I'll come out ahead over time.
You know, I want to make sure that the people that are listening do not miss what you just said. Form a plan and stick to it. I personally have made so many mistakes of going into a trade with no plan whatsoever and just saying, I'm going to see how things go. I love what he just said right there, and that is one of the biggest pieces of advice I give people whenever we do Club DeFi, like office hours and stuff. And I tell people, hey, just know your plan. I want every one of you to have it for yourself. Don't just listen to somebody else's plan. Know your whys, know your whats, know your points. And if you guess wrong, if you don't do it correctly, you learn from it. You reevaluate, but at least you're learning the discipline of forming a plan and sticking to that plan, not FOMOing in or fudding out at the wrong time. So I love that. You know, before I let you go, Kagan, I know TShroom had a question for you about open interest. You mentioned that a little earlier, so I'm going to throw it to TShroom for that question.
Yeah, really quick. It's a question about open interest. You said that you had a friend who who was actually seeing low open interest at, I can't see it because it's such a small font, but I want to say 19.6. Why? So
yeah.
So the question is why would he go long on a lower open interest? Because I thought that you like what was his thinking there to go long?
So
if you could unpack that
a lot of times, we actually talked about this last night in our update. A lot of times when a move gets started like that, it's usually people getting stopped out of positions. You think when you're breaking above an area like this, there's probably stop losses. So you're going to hit those, and those aren't actually going to increase open interest. Those are going to take away from it because you got to think they're just being forced out of positions. But then what you want to see is once those guys are forced out of their position, you want to see the open interest coming in and supporting the move further. So we're looking at the really low time frames at this point when we're doing that. You got to think we're looking at sometimes a 1 to 5 minute chart. Sometimes we're only looking at the delta of it. We're not even looking at time. We're looking at that. I look at volume, so I'm looking at the 5 mil chart a lot of times, or the 10 mil. But that's generally how on the low time frames you're going to see that open interest kick off. I guess I should specify that. So you'll see that decline in open interest, but then you want to see fresh new participants supporting the move, whether it's to the downside or the upside. And I don't know that I have. Let me get EXO up real quick. See if I can show you on the move down was a really good example of that, actually.
But to summarize, what I'm hearing is you want to see a big liquidation and then fresh interest coming in, and that signals
a lot of times on these big drops in OI, you'll actually get a reversal sometimes. But if you start seeing fresh participants come in, let me see if I can't find the lows here. Let's go to the 10 mil. There's been a fair amount of volume that's come in. So this is these tools are really good for like low time frame stuff. And I will say that. So what you'll notice here is this is where the move's kicking off. This is your open interest right here. You can see that it is declining. Okay, so these are people being forced out at the lows, being forced out again right here. But then you start seeing as the move kicks off, like really kicks off right here, you notice the OI is starting to increase, supporting the move. And then it just resets as we stop people out. You get more that comes in. And now you've come up to a point where you are at resistance. And so you're going to see it chopping around here. But you want to see this OI increasing. The issue with that is as you're reaching a resistance. So this is your delta line up here. You see how it's increasing, but price is failing to make new highs. So you still want to see that OI increasing. But if you start noticing the OI is really increasing and it's not going anywhere, price isn't. And delta, which is your positive delta here, look at it like the RSI kind of, is going up. Then someone is sat there because you've identified the key resistance and they're absorbing these orders. And so they're starting to build a short position in the opposite direction. And you can start being aware of that early on. And so as soon as you get a trigger, which you can just go into the delta usually, or into the candles, you can actually see where are all the positive candles at? Where are the guys coming in with longs through buying imbalances? So I can spot, okay, there's 1.9 here, 4.4 million here, 1.8 million. I can say, well, if we start putting these guys underwater, we now have fuel for the downside because they'll be stopped out of their positions if we break below, X level, and they'll have to be forced to sell their position, which just gives the sellers that are trying to take over extra fuel to push it lower. So a lot of times you can actually tell by how many people are trapped up here, how big the move down could be. Sometimes you're like, oh, it's just going to put a few people underwater. We're going to backtest the VWAP. Not a big deal. I'll probably be taking profits there if I jump in on the move. But if you see something like you saw like 48K back in March where there were, I want to say it was like 40 plus million people underwater, you're like, man, this thing's going to get some legs. Especially if it gave up, I think it was 43,800 or so, on that move down. It's like all those people would be underwater. This move's got some serious legs behind it. And I should be looking to rotate that range in full back down to $37,000. And then maybe lower over time, which it did. So this is a tool that it can take a lot of time to kind of get used to, but once you have that, locked in, it's very useful. But for day trading is primarily where we start using this more. Gotcha. I hope that makes sense.
I really appreciate it. Really unpacked that well. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, Kagan, thank you so much, man, for joining the show today. We're gonna have to let you go here in a second and keep going on, but I always enjoy getting to hear your take, and we'll have you on again very, very soon. Just so everybody knows, you're still doing everything on YouTube and Twitter, so people can come follow you and hear more about this stuff in detail. Correct?
Correct. Yeah. No, YouTube. I'm actually going to start making static, like daily videos. I don't do as many live streams as I used to, so I'll be doing that. Be starting to cover a few more altcoins because altcoins are starting to look kind of fun. So I'll be day trading a few more of those.
Sweet. All right, well, you guys heard him. Go follow him right now. If you guys want to see some daily live videos of him setting up some trades for you guys, go follow him right now on both Twitter and on YouTube. We'll see you again really soon, Kagan.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. I'm telling you, man, his ability, I will get to a place where I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job of taking emotion out of it. And then I talk to Kagan, and I'm like, I'm the most emotional person I've ever met. I am too attached to things and thoughts and analogies. He is the goat of taking emotion out of trading. We're going to transition now with when talking about Bitcoin. We're still going to be talking about Bitcoin a little bit here because it is still in the web of what we're talking about. But Ethereum merge is coming up. We're going to be discussing, the three of us, what we think about how that is going. But let's go look at a couple charts that we didn't get to cover with Kagan. And the first one I would go to is the Bitcoin dominance chart. You might be like, all right, Tim, if we're talking about Ethereum, why are we talking about the Bitcoin dominance chart? Look on the daily chart how this continues to climb. You know, last week, we discussed the fact that it came down and bounced off of a support level we've been consistent with ever since May of 2021, and it's not playing around. I mean, I'm going to transfer over here to the Ethereum over Bitcoin chart here in just a second, show you the significance of it, but it is rallying. Now, that RSI is growing very quickly. As much as that price is exploding, that RSI is growing very, very quickly. So this is going to be something I'm going to keep my eyes on here on the daily chart to watch. Can we get back all the way to this point that we were back at here in June? Or are we going to get the RSI overextended, set up some bearish RSI divergence, and see the alts begin to take over? But let's go really quickly to that ETH over Bitcoin chart. You guys are going to notice it is on its way down on the daily chart. Are we going to be setting up some bullish divergence on that one? I did notice, I was looking at the Fibonacci. If we were to go down to this bottom right here that we had back on the 29th of August, which I didn't grab my Fibonacci tool, there we go, and we to go up to this peak, we are getting close to a golden pocket. So could we potentially see some reversal happen there on this Ethereum over Bitcoin chart? I do not know, but unlike Bitcoin, where, sorry, I'm going to take this down. Unlike Bitcoin that is rallying here over the last couple of days, heading up towards that 23,000 I was talking about last week, Ethereum is kind of stifled. Yeah, it had a little bit of a rally, but the last 2 days have been red here on Ethereum, which really begs the question, are we going to be seeing Ethereum break through after the merge? Is the fundamentals going to be enough to keep it going up? Are we going to see a dip? The question would be, how far down would we go if we have that dip? I'm going to throw it to TShroom for just a second, get his take before I continue this. TShroom, what are you thinking? What are you expecting here over the next couple of days when it comes to Ethereum, with the CPI numbers being a part of the factor, but obviously the biggest one being that merge? We've had lots of other people come on the show. Some people think we're going up. Some people think we're going down. Where have you kind of sat yourself over the next couple of days when it comes to Ethereum price?
Yeah, well, I find myself more and more kind of in the camp with Kagan, where I'm just in it for I know he removes emotion on a day-to-day basis. I've removed emotion from like a long-term basis with Ethereum. I believe in the project, but one does continue to be curious. And so kind of what I'm thinking is, come the 15th, let's assume that it's going to be on the 15th, right?
Yeah.
I think you do have bullishness. I think you do have a move to the upside. Where exactly, I'm not sure. If I pull up a Ethereum chart though, I'd say you could potentially go, I think you would almost certainly, if the sentiment is bullish, you'd go up and test 1788, those highs again, but then the focus comes on to the rate hikes, and that, that's just going to actually, if you think about it, the rate hikes are almost certainly 75 basis points, which is what we saw this morning on the CME futures. Really what it comes down to is the press conference. And if we can start to get a gauge on when these rate hikes are going to cool down, and obviously it's dependent on inflation, and we'll be getting some insights on that tomorrow when that inflation number prints. But does Powell already thinking ahead? Is he already thinking about a strategy of, hey, maybe come March I'm going to go ahead and commit to moving down from 75 to 50, or maybe even earlier than that, or guys, we're not going to change from 75 no matter what until we get down to 4% inflation again, or 3% inflation again. So that's really what I see happening. And so in that time between the 15th, where I would say there's got to be some bullishness, that's a hunch, that's an assumption, can't really say for sure. But if it, there's also the chance that the merge doesn't happen successfully. I think that's a pretty low chance at this point, because everything has been green light up until then, up until now, and But between the 15th and the 21st, I think that's really no man's land. That's really kind of up for debate because it's just a vacuum, right? You'll have the inflation print, but by the 15th, I'd say, that has kind of panned out. And so between the 15th and the 21st, it's no man's land, and it's going to be, analysts are really going to be the ones kind of pumping FUD and FOMO into the market. And then you'll finally get the decision on the first, you get the press conference on the 21st. And from there, I think that Ethereum probably goes ahead and makes it down a leg lower. But that's where I could easily see it going the opposite direction too. But that's just kind of where I think that's where my gut is telling me that it will reverse there, along with the rest of crypto. It's not going to be unique to Ethereum. It's going to be crypto, Google, Amazon, Apple too. I think will all correct because there's still a part of the market that thinks we could get 50 basis points. But yeah, so hopefully Jerome will give us a little bit of a bullish nugget in that press conference. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. But so bullish through the 15th, probably going down, being very volatile between the 15th and the 21st, but probably leaning towards bullish. And then on the 21st, you could see some significant repricing to the downside, as well as a lot of market reactions, hopefully bullish, if the press conference goes favorably to the market.
I'm going to be quick with my thoughts. I'm going to look at a couple different charts. Go to my screen here, Smay. I'm going to start out here on the Ethereum over Bitcoin chart. I showed this a second ago. We're sitting right above that golden pocket. I'm going to continue. As convincing as Kagan was about where Bitcoin could keep rallying, the narrative and the bearish pressure that's about to hit us, I think that we should not necessarily just ignore. I think it's going to keep going. I think Ethereum over Bitcoin is going to have a stopping point right there in the golden pocket, but I honestly think that we can come down to the 0.786 levels. I think that right now, as Bitcoin dominance had that hard bottom and is rallying back up, I think that's going to put some pressure on the ETH over Bitcoin chart, bring it down here to 0.786. What that will mean is that Bitcoin, I think, is going to rally up above, up to this 23. I have the top of this range around 23.2. There's a VRVP kind of suggesting that that's the range we're going to. Potentially push through to 23.5, but ultimately I'm looking at that range to kind of reverse. I think there's going to be bearish pressure on the whole space. But, we've talked about this before. When we move on to Ethereum, this is why I think this is bullish, but it's going to be a downtick in price. There are some people still calling for potentially for a 30% crash on almost the entire space. What that would mean for Ethereum, let's say, I think it's 35%. If Ethereum were to crash, let's start right now, 35%. That's going to bring us all the way down back to $1,100, give or take. I don't think that's happening. Instead, if you're looking at this fixed range volume profile, I'm actually going to be watching. I think Ethereum's going to hang tight here while Bitcoin continues to climb. But I think the merge, combined with CPI numbers giving us probably the nail in the coffin that the interest rate hike will be high, we're probably going to come back down to this level that we're kind of peaking out here over the last couple of months, around 1577. And then I think you start to play the cards. Hey, can the bulls start to rally? Remember, you can go off my screen now, Smay. Remember, this is what we're wrestling with on Ethereum. Sell the news is going to be hard. That is going to be a thing. I do expect the price to dip. The question is, how much? Can we stay in reasonable areas, maybe only coming down to that $1,500 level, give or take? But here's where it gets interesting, because not only are we going to see the fundamental update and the attention being really exciting for people potentially who want to still buy more Ethereum, but we're going to have that supply daily be dropping significantly. And I think it's going to be one of those things. The sell the news is going to be strong. It's going to be really, really strong. But how quickly before we kind of attach ourselves to the gears of saying, all right, the supply is just so low, demand did not drop that fast, it's time for the Ethereum price to rally. We see this with the Bitcoin. Bitcoin, by the way, I went back and did some analysis on it. Bitcoin, as soon as halving start, actually dip for a couple of days, some of them lasting even a week or two, and then the price begins to go up to the upside and just stays for months and months and months at a time. I think something similar could happen with Ethereum. We've had analysts come on and say they think that Ethereum's going to drop. I agree in the short term. I expect the second half of this week, maybe even through the rest of September, to be seeing some negative price action on Ethereum. And then the fundamentals will come in. Paired with that, the interest from companies who are a little more environmentally friendly, who are looking at crypto and wanting to get in. I think Ethereum, despite the fact that those of us who are studying crypto, we understand that it's not more decentralized than Bitcoin. With this move to proof of stake, it is potentially putting itself in a threatening space where it's not as decentralized as it could have been. But it's going to be very interesting from an environmental standpoint, because You and I can sit here and say, guys, this is not a big deal with proof of work ruining the environment. Some people still believe that Bitcoin is a menace to society, and so they're going to go with these more quote-unquote environmentally friendly projects like Ethereum. I think there could be some massive institutional adoption here. There's a lot of reports coming out kind of supporting that. I am expecting a dip on Ethereum following the CPI numbers, following the Fed announcement next week, following this sell the news type of action on Ethereum. But I think it's going to catch and start heading up sooner, a lot sooner than potentially some people are expecting. It's going to be very interesting to watch as this plays out. But make sure you stay tuned in every single day. We will keep covering Ethereum. This is kind of the week of Ethereum. We're watching Ethereum hardcore. Even though the price action is not moving a whole lot, the fundamentals and the news is doing a heck of a lot more than other coins. Let's go ahead and transition now. Let's do some chat. We're about to do our HODL trophy predictions here in just a couple of minutes, but I'm going to start off sending it over to Smay. Do we have any super chats or any good questions that you saw that we can answer?
Gee whiz, Tim, we do have super chats, so I would like to read those for you. We have two. We have one from Elliot Locke, said, listen to some negative Nancy's economist. Let me say that again. Listen to some negative Nancy's economist. Not sure why, but they say commodities like metals and housing will take big dips with essentials rising. Will all of that drag BTC to the 12K mark, even with this nice price pump?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on record again. Kagan did a very good job of saying there's actually a very real chance that Bitcoin can continue to climb. I'm not sold just yet, and I was very tempted, but I'm still sticking to that concept of, I think 23 and a half maybe even is going to be a great spot for some institutions and whales to be taking some profit. I expect it to drop down. I'm not expecting a crash down to 12,000 yet. If we're going to see a $12,000 price or $11,000 price or those lower teens, I'm expecting that to come much closer to maybe the end of October, if not November. I think that's the time you're going to see it go that far. Everything else until then is to try to fudge you out as much as possible. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. Get ready for volatility. We've been bullish now for over a week. It's getting time to go back bearish and head back down to the bottom, at least back down to the bottom of the range we've kind of been in between 19,000 and about 24, 25,000. Watch us head back down towards 19 soon after this news release.
Next, we have another one from Matt C. Says, the more I stick to my plan, the less I stress out. Takes a lot of emotions out of it.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. I mean, it's just one of those concepts of like making good decisions when you're in a good state of mind versus when you could be impacted. If you just wait for the last second to make decisions, there's so many things that can sway your emotions, sway your thinking, versus when you're zoomed out, you're not emotionally attached to something at the moment, and you're just looking through the information, you can make some very good decisions. And then it's actually like a freedom, a relief to say, I don't need to make a decision right now. I already made the decision here a week ago to stay in until this point or this time, or to see this thing happen. And when that thing triggers, that's what's going to make me sell or buy or whatever the plan was.
Absolutely.
All right. And that's all we have for Super Chat. So, TShroom, do you have a favorite chat today?
I actually got a chat on Instagram from a friend of the show who we've been seeing in our local gym. And yeah, so Victor Delgado, he asked the question, if USA goes to war against China, can the USA say to China, oh wait, that's an old question. Sorry.
Sorry.
I was going to say, what does that have to do with anything?
For the coin. Okay. So stupid question. Crypto. He always starts with the stupid question.
He should start with, hey, idiot.
Why? Yeah. Nice throwback. Why is it such a big deal for a coin to become or be categorized as a security? Apparently, it's a huge deal, and everyone is freaking out. Why, if a coin is considered a security, it is even delisted from some exchanges, like Crypto.com or Binance. So I have an answer, but Tim, what do you think?
I mean, my first state is the reason why it's bad if a coin gets put as security, like he said, exchanges will get rid of it because exchanges do not want to mess with the SEC. Mm-hmm. Even if you have a good case, I mean, just look what the SEC has done to XRP. And I know a lot of us are expecting the XRP, the Ripple case, to go favorably for Ripple, but that has been 2 years of frustrations, lawsuits, fees, and it's just you just don't want to deal with the SEC. So it's just a whole lot cleaner if you can be deemed not a security and then go to regulation of the CFTC. Thank you.
Well,
and that's where it's gonna be a lot more friendly, a lot easier. Exchanges will be more likely. It's not the end of the world. Like if a coin gets classified as a security, it doesn't mean it has to be the death of it. It just becomes a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, too, it's not that they're just being deemed a security. They're being sued because they're being deemed an unlicensed security, which means could get them into a little bit of trouble.
And the whole thing is, let's say you're a security and there's no lawsuit. That's completely fine. But then the exchanges who do not want to deal with the SEC, they're just going to dump you and say, we just don't want to. We don't want to have the SEC breathing down our backs day in and day out to make sure we're doing this correctly. Yep.
And then why does that affect the price of the coin that gets delisted? Because then there's less volume for that to be exchanged. It becomes a less liquid asset. So it's a good question, Victor. And Victor also had some really good let us know in the chat if you like this idea. He had the idea of to settle our disputes in the studio, which sometimes we get into disputes about different things. We should have a basketball hoop somewhere in the studio. And to settle the dispute is we all take a shot on the basketball hoop, and whoever misses means that they were wrong. So we might be taking that into consideration. We shall see. But Victor is full of great questions and full of great ideas. Don't call your questions stupid anymore. Just ask them straight up because I think you have good questions.
Well, let's go ahead and transition. It's time to do our HODL Trophy predictions. So TShroom is the reigning champion in the room. He will be going first. I'll go second because I won more recently, and then Smay will back clean up. But also, once again, shout out to OMan13 for winning last week. And it is time again. It is Monday. So if you guys want to compete with us, make sure as soon as the stream is over, do not put in the chat. Again, go to my screen real quick, Smay. I just want to show this because some people didn't hear. This is the live chat. If you guys see a box like this, see that top chat, don't put it there. Go below. There's going to be comment sections as soon as we're not live anymore. There's a comment section down here. Comment it down there if you want to be entered to win. And every single day we'll be shouting out OMan13, giving him special attention. He gets the hype for this week because he's the reigning champion of the community. Let's go ahead and start our predictions, TShroom. What do you got for coming up Friday at 10:55? We're going to go ahead and round. We're going to say 11. We've been announcing it closer to 11. 11 o'clock on Friday. What is your prediction?
Friday at 10?
At 11.
At 11?
We're going to call it 11. We're going to move it back 5 minutes.
11.
I like that he says 11. He says, so Friday at 10.
And I'm not just buying time. 11 p.m.? 11.
Okay. Well, now you're just, now you are buying time. Yeah. Is what you're doing.
Let's see. I'm going to go, I think by then we'll still be high. So I'm going to take 22.5.
22.5?
Yeah, 22,500.
That's solid. All right, it's my turn. I'm gonna go low. I could be very wrong. This is one of the hardest weeks, and next week's gonna be fun as well because we'll have the announcement itself. But with the merge and with the CPI data, I very easily could see it pumping continual, but I'm gonna go bearish on this one. I think we're gonna be dropping, but I don't think it'll be disastrous just yet. We'll see. I'm going to go with 20,500. I'm going to be bearish this week, extremely bearish. I think we'll hit our heads on that 23, give or take, over the next day or two, and then Wednesday's going to be pretty rough, and we'll be making our way back down towards that 19K range.
Turtle King.
Just real quick, TShroom say yours again, and then
22.5.
22.5.
And I'm 20,005.
All right, I'm going to be 20.
You go low.
Let's go. All right, are they locked in?
So you're the highest, yeah.
So I have a pretty good chance of winning 2 weeks in a row here.
You could. I mean, I like my middle range. This is one of the biggest middle ranges we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, it's not a bad middle range, but
it's not.
Getting the over or the under is favorable because as the winner, you have to go first, and it makes it very difficult because usually you get pinched in the middle, but they didn't do that. They didn't strategize very well.
And if we have disaster strike, Smay's sitting right there with that bottom prediction. But I'm very interested to see who of the community wins this week. Let us know in the chat. So this way you can let us know in chat. Who do you think will win the HODL Trophy in the office? Do you think TShroom with 22,500, Tim with 20,500, or a clean 20? You said 20,000 or 19,500?
20,000.
Just 20,000 clean for the Turtle King. Let us know who you think is going to win. It is about time to wrap up today's stream, but I want to close out with a couple of announcements. So there's really, really cool things happening. In case you guys did not know, every Friday we've been releasing weekly wrap-ups that have been phenomenal. So in case you ever miss a show, you miss some important information, we wrap up the week with what happened on the charts, what were the big headlines, so that you don't miss a beat. Make sure you tune in every single Friday at 6 p.m. to watch those. However, now that I'm announcing that's what we do, this week we will not be having a weekly wrap-up because our COO, Manny, if he's in chat, shout out to him. He's getting married on Friday. Smay and Zach, you guys know Definitely Not High Zach, they're going to be actually videoing the wedding. So we'll be doing our show Friday, and we're going to try, I think TShroom and I are going to try to get some afternoon videos out, but we're not going to be doing our normal weekly wrap-up. We will be heading down to go to his wedding, so shout out to him. We're super excited for him and his soon-to-be bride, Sarah. Blessings to them.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, you don't want to miss the show because Cryptos Are Us, a.k.a. George. We are all George. He's joining the show tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. It is going to be fantastic.
Woohoo!
I know a lot of you guys are George fans, so it's going to be a great show.
Love George.
Community stream. So those green names. Tuesday, we are having our community stream at 11:30 following the show. So make sure you put it on your calendar. We're going to be doing that. I know you guys are going to love it. It's always amazing. And the last announcement that I have, and I just want to remind you guys of this, we are a community here that loves everybody. One of our purposes, we talk about this in our planning meetings all the time, our purpose of this entire channel. Yes, we talk about crypto. Yes, we have fun. But the purpose is to create deep relationships that enrich lives. And one of the things that we know, we would love to touch base with all of you, but we know that's impossible. But we have a prayer wall in the office. We want to be able to pray for anything you need prayer over. So if you email us at support@cryptojebb.com, we have a prayer wall. We put it here. Someone that works for us, they take your little sticky note. We write on a sticky note. They take it. They pray over you all week. It's just one of the ways that we can continue to love on and support you guys. And whether you're a Christian or not, whether you believe in the power of prayer or not, it doesn't ever hurt to have somebody out there knowing that they're thinking about you, they love you. And so if that is you, if you need some support right now, please, please, please do not hesitate. Write us. Let us be praying over you this week. That is all we have for you on today's show, but make sure you stay tuned. You subscribe, like this kind of content so you can get more of it. We love each and every single last one of you guys, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.